Hello everyone, Mr. Happy here, and welcome to my recap and thoughts on the live letter that came out of the Tokyo Game Show on September 18th, 2015 at 8 p.m. PDT, PST, whatever you want to call it. And yes, I did write that down right at the top so I would not forget. Now, this just finished airing, and a lot of people have some mixed feelings about this live letter, but I feel like I say that every live letter, so let's just get right into it. So, they started off on a pretty strong point. They found a fix for Mudra lag. Supposedly, or at least make changes to the programming or the network code or something. They're going to do something so that Mudra usage will be smoother. As a ninja, 2 thumbs up. I can't really say I'm upset about that, regardless of whether you were with 10 ping or you had 100 ping. That should help some ninjas, especially with the European data centers. We should see the rise of a lot of very less hindered ninja players in the near future. Patch title came out. The patch, this is the longest patch. So I noticed something about the patches. Every single patch has had 3 words in it. You know, a realm awoken, through the maelstrom, before the fall, defenders of Eorzea. All of them are 3, and dreams of ice are all 3 words long. This one's 6 words. So as goes light, so goes darkness. Final Fantasy XIV patch 3.1 PogChamp. Anyway, that's going to be the name of patch 3.1, and yes, as you can probably figure out, the Warrior of Darkness is going to be a major point. Of course, the continuation of the Dragon Song War and trying to resolve it. Now, we didn't get a release date, but we got a release window, and I already know a lot of you are not going to be very happy about it because I had to sit through my own Twitch chat as I watched the salt pour through the chat. Release date's in November, within the first 10 days of November, mostly because A, it's a lot of content, and it's a lot of new content that they haven't really tried to develop before, and B, they took a slight vacation after Heavensward launched because they really haven't taken a vacation in the past 2 years, so I'd say at least a small delay. That's honestly only 2 weeks later than I expected it to be, because I expected the European data centers to come out like the 2nd or 3rd week of October, and then maybe a week or 2 after that for patch 3.1, so for me, that's not too much out of expectation. Gives me a chance to try a few things. I believe we have Heart of Thorns in that time. I believe we have Blade and Soul on October 30th. We have Wildstar free-to-play September 29th. Sword Coast Legends September 29th. There's Final Fantasy V comes out next week on Steam. There's like so many games I want to play. So, and honestly, this just gives me more time. Also gives me time to catch up on Healer Happy videos, so I have no problem with that either. There's one more fate in October. It's in Hiroshima. It will be October 25th, and that will be a continuation of the patch 3.1. We're probably going to be getting a trailer or release date and further information about the things we didn't get detailed here. Which, by the way, while they only covered really 3 things plus a few additional points, they covered a lot in this live letter. Like, TGS only gives them about an hour. Like, it's not like the regular live letters where they're in their office and they have like an hour and a half, 2 hours. They can go however long they want. TGS says, hey, here's the stage. You have this long. Get it done. And they got it done. Void Ark, nothing too special. They reiterated 24-man raid. There will be, you know, Final Fantasy references in there. Of course, Kachi, or Kate Sith, as a lot of people call him, was shown in the slides as well. It's going to have the same loot system as World of Darkness. It's going to have the same party layout as World of Darkness with 3 tank 6 healers, 15 DPS. It's going to be the same difficulty as the Crystal Tower in World of Darkness. Now, the loot restrictions were something we probably already expected. 1 piece of gear per week and 1 upgrade material per week. So you're looking to upgrade those esoterics, you will be able to do that through the Crystal Tower, and based on what we're about to find out with the Free Company Exploration, I expect these things to be added immediately. I do not expect the Twine in a Coat to be delayed. I expect the dip to be delayed maybe till 3.15. Anyway, so Free Company Airship Exploration. This is a feature we have been dying to know more about. We are looking for content that we can do as a free company. You know, get free companies together on a Saturday night. Go out into the world. Do some content together. We haven't had anything meaningful outside of some player-based activities, maybe like a glamour contest or something like that, which is all good and fun, but it's not serious battle content that you can just do as a free company. Free Company Airship Exploration met and exceeded what I expected from it, the amount of work put into it. So I have a lot of points. Let's go through them. Explore islands teaming with monsters. We knew that. You can team up with up to 24 people. We knew that. You may run into other alliances. It is not instanced to every individual alliance, so you may run into other groups of 24 people there, killing their own monsters and farming their own loot. People without free companies can still participate using the airships in Ishgard, but you have to remember the islands they get sent to will be random, and you can queue either solo or farm as a party beforehand. But they did say in some notes I remember seeing on Reddit, I wish I had a source, but I know someone else out there has seen it as well, that players with free company airships will have some sort of advantage, some sort of thing they have over. Perhaps the ability to choose the island is that advantage. They showed a video of a Dragoon running through the area. You can fly through the area as well, so it is a very massive. It's basically an entirely new zone. They showed off some enemies. You know, we saw a giant enemy crab. You can fly between islands. They take place primarily on Abalathia's spine, or Albalthia's spine. I don't know. I just typed it down earlier. There's layers of floating islands. There's a lower, middle, and high and upper, and they all have different enemies and different encounters that you can deal with. Now you're gonna hate me for this. You are going to need to unlock flying when you get there. However, it is a very quick process compared to the way it was when you were leveling in the in A Realm Reborn. There's not going to be any quest-based, no quest-based ethereal points. I don't remember what they're called, the currents. It's just going to be you run around, you grab the first few ethereal currents, and bam, you can fly in the zone. You're good. It takes like 10-15 minutes at most. Now, the entire point of this Free Company airship is you're going to be battling hordes of powerful monsters. The maximum level they're supposed to go up to is between levels 80 and 90. And it said that the weakest enemies in the zone, the absolute weakest enemies in the zone, are equivalent to a level 60 A rank hunt. So yes, they are going to be very, very powerful monsters, probably both in the damage that they deal and in the health values that they have. Now, they did directly bring up the terms NM and HNM, which are terms that were very much known in Final Fantasy XI. So I'm going to break this down. These are basically bosses in the area. They're open world bosses. Think about a Fate almost as an NM or an HNM. Like, you could consider, let's say Go-Go Gorgamera is an NM, and then you have Odin and Behemoth as HNMs. So those are like the equivalency that I can think of. An NM is a notorious monster, which is a stronger than normal open world boss. An HNM is a hyper notorious monster, although people say the H means something else. I don't know, that's what I call it, which is a powerful open world super boss, which usually requires a lot of people and can very quickly kill people if you're not prepared. Now, you can change your jobs on the islands freely. There's going to be gear available from the island materials, and they showed off some of that gear. They developed a lot of gear for this patch, it seems. Not just glamour gear, but functional gear as well. Now, the monsters are so strong, I wrote this down, that you can Spirit Bond I-180 plus gear. I don't know if that's 100% true, but based on the following statement, I'm willing to believe it's true. It's just a good place for Spirit Bonding, so expect to see people gaining a lot of materia through this, especially when I explain this next system. Materia should be, especially level 5 materia, should become a lot more common, or at least a real thing to be able to get after this patch. So items are going to drop chests, or I'm sorry, items will drop in chests from monsters that you kill, whether they be NMs, HNMs, trash mobs out in the world. Now, these chests can either be bronze, silver, or gold. Items in these chests can go up to item level 210. That is right. You can get up to item level 210. There are variances in the item level. You're not guaranteed, hey, this content is going to give you 210 loot, but it is a possibility, even if it is super, super rare. Now, that's most likely going to drop from the gold chest. There's also going to be items that you get that maybe you don't want, that you can trade in for points, which we'll explain a little bit later. There's going to be glamour armor that you can get, but even the bronze chest will give you something useful, because even if you get something you don't want, you can trade it in for points to get something that you do want. Now, there's a couple of things I want to say. One, these item level 210 items are ethereal grade. They are pink grade armor, which you may only remember from leveling from 1 to 50. You started getting it from dungeons that had randomly generated stats, and you couldn't really control what you got from things like chests doing leave quests. Turns out that they will function exactly the same. This ethereal grade I-210 armor will be completely randomized stat-wise, meaning that you may get loot that is undesirable and you may get loot that is desirable. Any of the loot that you get here can be pink grade. It also has random glamour, meaning you could run into items such as, you know, a Hyalligan armor that's dyed a different color, or maybe you'll get a bathing suit that's item level 200, or you'll get Hyalligan that's item level 170. You know, you could get any of these things from this chest, and it's not like the glamour of the item or the look of the item or the appearance is the same as the stats. You could get, like I said, an I-210 swimsuit, or you can get an I-170 swimsuit, and it could be no difference, and the stats will be considerably different. The armor is not matched up with the item level, is all I'm trying to say. Now, chests, of course, that drop will be random. It's basically Diablo 3 Final Fantasy 14 style. Like, that's the best way for me to describe this. Stats may also be random. I say may also, they will be random. Let's not confuse it. And also, of course, those points that I mentioned earlier, you're going to be able to exchange those for gear and items, probably be able to randomly roll for loot. They didn't say that exclusively, but I'm assuming based on the system. So, it's basically the ultimate catch-up patch, and even groups that are doing Savage and that are progressing on Savage, or that are looking to Savage for patch 3.2, are probably going to be looking at this, because guess what? You want the best possible item set. People are going to literally try to get no skill speed on anything. Ninjas are literally going to be like, can I get 0 skill speed on, can I get accuracy, crit, crit determination, crit determination, crit determination, crit determination, accuracy, crit, accuracy, crit, accuracy, crit. Perfect. 1200 crit. Done. Honestly, I'm looking forward to it. Because guess what? This is content that is now useful not only to casual players, but to hardcore players. It is content that you can do for long periods of time. It is content you can do with a free company. You don't need statics for this kind of content. It's pretty much exactly what people are asking for in a lot of respects. At the same time, there is the concerns of it being open world with NMs and H&Ms. Of course, Final Fantasy XI had a lot of competition. We've already seen the results of hunts and how those have affected the mentality of players when the hunts are in season, when they're popular for progression. So, at the same time, as excited as I am for it, I'm also deeply intrigued to see how the community responds to such a piece of content. I'm planning on enjoying it. I'm planning on enjoying it with my free company. Planning on trying to farm out some loot. If I don't want an item, I trade it in for points. I try to get something I actually do want. Great. Only other concern, where does this leave Savage? I'm guessing the I-210 stuff is going to be so rare. It's like, imagine getting a legendary in Diablo 2 or Diablo 3 or Path of Exile or something. You know, you're not guaranteed hordes of this item, just tons of I-210 stuff. It's rare. It's really rare. And even then, you might get stats that you don't like. So, they're really trying to keep you in the game. And this is something that is very much similar to old school MMOs, but is very different to what we're used to getting in 14. I applaud the development team for coming up with this content and making it something in Final Fantasy 14. Because you know what? I think players can enjoy this, even though it is a little bit more old school. But, of course, key is implementation. And we've seen they've lacked implementation in the past. So I'm 50-50 on it. But if it goes well, I will be happy with it. It's enough like Final Fantasy XI content to tug on my nostalgia strings, while still being more Final Fantasy 14 to a sense that I can at least just farm loot, and I like Diablo 3. So, whoop-de-doo. I think we'll be okay. Now, they spent, obviously, a large section talking about that, but we also have Lords of Verminion, the other piece of content that is vastly different from the norm of stuff that we get for Final Fantasy 14. Like, I didn't care about the 2 dungeons. I didn't care about finding out more about Singularity Reactor Extreme. I didn't care as much about Void Arc and finding out the boss, because, you know what? That stuff has always been there, and it's always been formulaically the same. I wanted to know about this and the Free Company Airship stuff, and I got that in this live letter, so I'm satisfied. Lords of Verminion, RTS game, between 2 players, 1 versus 1 matches. Rules, summon your own minions to do battle. Only use minions you own. Same minion may be summoned multiple times, matches are only 10 minutes long, and you win by destroying the enemy's Arcana Stones, which basically look like tiny Aetherites. Pretty simple. RTS, destroy the enemy's base and you win. That's pretty much as simple as it's always been. Now, of course, there are multiple strats, and of course, the minions you own will help determine the way that you want to approach combat here. For example, they showed Yugiri as an example. Yugiri has an HP value of 335, an attack value of 55, a defense value of 50, and her speed is 2 out of 4 stars. I guess she forgot to Huton. I even wrote that in my notes here. She also has an ability where she can give all units around her an AoE attack buff. She's capable of neutralizing gates and shields of the opponents, and she is a Poppet-type minion, which we will get into a little bit later. Now, that's pretty cool. Stats of minion are different. Stats from minion to minion are different. Abilities from minion to minion are different. However, the one thing that is probably going to affect a lot of people's enjoyment, very similar to Chocobo Racing, your ability to control the minions is not 100% up to you. In Chocobo Racing, you race down lanes, so that was how it was out of control. In this, your movement and which minions you place on the field will be completely in control. You can tell your minions where to go on the field if they want to send them towards an objective. When they get there, the way they determine their targets and the way they use their abilities is out of your control. So, I'm assuming that the minions are smart enough to at least know, like, hey, I'm in this situation, I have all these allies around me, we're attacking a target, I know to use this AoE attack buff. This enemy I'm attacking has a gate or has a shield. I know it's built into my AI. I have to use that on this target. However, focusing targets and using the abilities of your free will seem to not be on the cake, which is a disappointment to me, because as much as I'm not great at the micro style of StarCraft, that is what makes it interesting for me to watch, is watching those StarCraft professionals take those stalkers and blink the one that's being focused in the front and blink it back and then still use it to attack in the combat. Like, those little micro skills I enjoy. It seems like those micro skills are being removed, and it's mostly a macro level game where you mostly are just focusing on massing your units and controlling them in a strategic way, movement-wise, without actually controlling their individual abilities. Now, like an RTS, it does have things like a supply cost, like a maximum supply unit amount. So, for example, there's a minimum amount of points required to summon a minion. There's 5 tiers of costs, 10, 15, 20, 25, and 30. When the game is starting, you'll have 60 supply units in order to use. So you could place 2 30s, you could place 6, tiers of 10 or of 10 each. You could place 4 or 15. Whatever works best for you, you can prep the board the way that works best for you. Now, cost is, again, only active when a minion is on a field, similar to StarCraft. If a unit dies or you recall it, then you're refunded the supply cost. You're refunded how many units it's actually taking up. And you can make units up to a maximum of 240. So, with 30, units that take up 30, that would just be, 8 units, basically, on the field at any given time. So you're not going to be massing, like, units that are only worth 1 and making, like, armies of 240 minions. It'll be pretty small, the amount of units you actually have to control at a given time. They also said Hildebrand is apparently OP, and he's a 30. He costs 30 apparently. Now, there's also different minion types, and it's sort of like a rock, paper, scissors kind of deal. I compare it to the starter Pokemon, Bulbasaur, Squirtle, and Charmander, where they all kind of cancel each other out, although I know people out there are going to argue, one of them has better base stats and their special attack is whatever. You know what I mean? The elements all cancel each other out. There's Poppets, which basically make up wind-up characters like Yugiri, like Hildebrand, like Nanamo, characters like that. You have monsters, which are like bombs and goobos, monsters you would find out in the open world. You have critters, which are enemies you won't find out in the open world, but you can still find them as minions. For example, the panda, the little panda is an example of that. And then you have gadgets, which are things like the cursor, or maybe these random other things that... I'm fine. The cursor is the best example that they gave, so I'm going to go with that. I'm sure you guys know it. I'm sure you guys can relate the gadget, the cursor, to something else as well, though. Poppets beat monsters, which beat critters, which then beat Poppets. So again, giant rock, paper, scissors game kind of that you're going to have to look at when your opponent is using mostly monsters or mostly critters, or just try to match your units up with the units that they would be strong against. Gadgets are neutral. They have no advantages and no disadvantages, so they can be good in any composition pretty much. There's also 5 total modes. They initially said there was 4, but it was a typo. Thankfully, Marco, the person who translated this, who I forgot to credit at the beginning of the video, Marco did the translations for this live. They did also have slides, but Marco managed to fill in a lot of the little blanks here. So thank you again, Marco, as per usual, doing a fantastic job translating these live, especially when it was so early in the morning for you, man. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So they have a tutorial mode, teaches you the game. A challenge mode is ranked, basically. So GG Bronze, or as I wrote here, BR Zone, apparently. You have a training mode, player versus CPU. You have a battle mode, which is unranked matches, and you have tournament modes, which match players together automatically. So unlike with Triple Triad, where players would pick their opponent for the tournaments, the game will pick them for you, so you could still probably try to arrange them. I imagine people will still try to, like, match up in the Duty Finder or something like that, but it's not as easy to trick the system as it was with Triple Triad, although I'm sure some people will try to find a way to do it. Matching in Lords of Verminion will be done based on battle performance. ELO. If you've ever seen, ELO is your ranking of how well you play the game, pretty much. It's a similar system that's actually going to be used in the new PvP ranking system that comes out Wolves End 2 in patch 3.2. There's going to be event rankings, there's going to be achievements, rewards, and they're actually going to demonstrate it live at that next Fate that I mentioned earlier. They also showed off some new glamour items that are going to be available via the Gold Saucer, such as the Afro hairstyle that we've been seeing teased for quite some time. And also, do not forget the Gold Saucer will be getting challenge logs in patch 3.1. Racing, Triple Triad, the minigames, Gates, Lords of Verminion are all going to have challenge logs to gain additional MGP. So, those of you still looking to get your Fenrir mount, it's going to get a little bit easier after this next patch. They showed off some new Free Company crafting items, such as the Moogle houses or the Hoshfont painting. They confirmed relic weapons will be in 3.1. Last live letter, they said, hey, it's going to be 3.1 or 3.15. We're not sure yet. They confirmed it for 3.1, so that's another good thing. And then they just, a bunch of stuff. They may develop the game for PlayStation VR in the future. The next live letter is on October 25th. I said that already. And Yoshi P is warning people that there's a lot of Free Company thieves out there right now. So if you're inviting somebody new to your Free Company, probably shouldn't give them immediate access to all the gil and materials in the Free Company chest. It's just a little warning from him. Overall, They only have an hour. This was exactly what I wanted. These are the things I wanted to know about, especially the Free Company Airship Exploration. They honestly blew me away with how much they revealed with it. Even going as far as to reveal the item level. Do you know how rare it is for them to tell us the item level of gear before something comes out? Like, I was pleasantly surprised. I guess they're like, it's random. They're not guaranteed the I-210 stuff, so we'll just tell them where they're getting it. I do have some concerns. Obviously, patch is going to be a little bit late. By my standards, at least 2 weeks late. It's definitely the longest period between a patch, or in this case the expansion launch, and the next patch. It's definitely the longest period of time. They took a vacation, big whoop. Their focus also on the data center being an anonymous dolphin. Thank you for clicking at the top of the thing. And whatever. It's good. I have time to play other games in between, and I'll have plenty of content to share with you guys on a pretty common basis after this is done. So I'm glad to have more stuff to stream, more stuff to make content on, and more stuff that I can potentially share with you guys. Anyway, thank you for coming, thank you for watching this video. Be sure to like, favorite, subscribe, and share for more information about Final Fantasy XIV, and check out the rest of the videos on my YouTube channel as well. Anyway, thank you for watching. I will see you all in the next video, and until then, take care.